Major breaking news. France is facing a major crisis right now. They are actually facing huge debts since they were kicked out of Africa. You would believe that they were funded by most of the African nations that they colonized in Africa. More than 15 nations were giving France 80% of a country's revenue annually. But after the awake of these African nations, led by Captain Ibrahim Traore, they said enough is enough. And that's when the collapse of France started. They're literally facing it rough because as we are speaking, France has got a debt of approximately 3.35 trillion euros that increases in each and every second. Imagine their debt increases with 5,000 euros per second. The companies in France are literally shutting down. Their nuclear power plant was shut down recently. France is literally facing it rough, and these Western nations can never survive without Africa. This is one of the biggest reality that these people don't want to agree, but it's literally coming out. Let me tell you, in some years coming, maybe 2 to 3, France will be declared a third world nation if they can never be allowed to come back to Africa. Let's keep watching.
Breaking update. France's government is on the verge of collapse and the crisis is shaking Europe to its core. The country is drowning in debt, with a staggering 3.34 trillion euro deficit that grows by nearly 5,000 euro every single second. And it's not just France, the United Kingdom is also staring down the same path. Here's the part most people don't know. For decades, 14 African nations were forced into an arrangement that sent up to 80% of their yearly revenues straight to France. That deal kept France afloat for over 50 years. But times have changed. Countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and Senegal have expelled France, cutting off Paris from the very resources that kept its economy stable. Now, the fallout is massive. Companies are leaving France, unemployment is rising, and the state can't keep up with the weight of its own debt. The lifeline from Africa is gone, and with it, France's economic safety net. Meanwhile, the UK still leans heavily on Nigeria, but analysts warn that if Nigeria follows the same path and pushes back, Britain could face a collapse similar to France. What we're seeing right now is Europe paying the price for decades of dependency on Africa. The old system is crumbling and the cracks are finally out in the open. So here's the big question. Is this the beginning of Europe's economic downfall, or can these nations survive without Africa's resources?
In actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out. We are talking about giving you independence, but sign this pact for the continuation of colonization in a different format. As if it wasn't bad enough that we were divided up into the tiny little countries that we are today. The gift that Berlin Conference gave us, one other thing that France did between 1958 and 1961 in the name of giving us our independence as African countries. France forced the Francophone, and I hate that terminology. There is no such thing as Francophone, Anglophone. They made it up. But for the purposes of communication, I will use that. 14 of those countries, they said, in order for you to get your independence from us, you must sign this document. You thought they could have found a better name for the document. The document was called the Pact for the Continuation. I repeat, the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. We are talking about giving you independence, but sign this pact for the continuation of colonization in a different format. And I'm going to highlight some of those issues that they said you must agree to if you are going to be independent. Hello. Maybe we need to redefine the meaning of independence for the French. First, France said, you see, you monkeys, you don't know how to manage your money. We're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Minister of Finance. Under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. France is then going to take your 85% bank deposits from each and every one of you. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under the French name. And you may or may not know the returns. Today, as we speak, the latest figures are saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out. For every 14 billion, the returns on the investment are over 300 billion, and they are taking over 500 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out from us poor people, Africans.
With all the billions France is looting from Africa and other countries like Haiti, the capital city Paris still looks like this. Share this video to raise awareness and stop our brothers and sisters from going there. Let's work on improving the motherland. We can realize our potential.
Africa is the only reason why Western Europeans get to enjoy such a high quality of life, especially for France. They brag about being able to live well even though they don't have to work as hard as Americans, but they omit the fact that all that comfort they enjoy comes off of the back of African resources and labor. England, Portugal, Germany, Belgium, Italy, and France all made a massive scramble for Africa in the 1880s, and France by far still has their foot in their old colonial ways. Even though these African nations have declared their independence, France and a couple other countries are still exploiting them, and they have given nothing in return to these African nations. They have built very little in infrastructure and construction. They have given next to nothing compared to how much they have taken to support their ways. Out of the 8 African coups that have happened since 2020, 7 of them were from French colonies. The French do not know how to build, they do not know how to innovate, they do not know how to grow democracy in any part of the world, which is why for the past 60, 70 years, they have just had French puppets that were ruling these African countries that finally got sick of how they were being treated. China has only taken an interest in Africa for 30 or 40 years, yet they have built more industry and infrastructure than all of the other European countries combined. So of course, the African nations are going to have a much more favorable disposition towards China, since they are the ones who are actually building factories, roads, bridges, hospitals. China is actually divesting a lot of their own resources to make this possible. And you guys know how I feel about a lot of Chinese policy, but they did hit the nail on the mark when it comes to Africa. It is pretty clear that Russia's Wagner forces have had a lot to do with the coups that have taken place in Gabon, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And even though the Russians aren't trying to actually help anyone, I believe they are trying to foment chaos and destabilize a lot of positions in the West. This can be an overall good thing for Central Africa. Even though the Russians' goal is to create a lot of instability for the West, this instability can spread to a lot of other African countries, and that can actually hurt a lot of China's positions there. Make no mistake, despite what you're seeing in the media, the US will find a way to exploit whatever is happening in Africa. At first, they seemed that they were very pro taking down the Niger coup, and now they've kind of backed off and they said that they are going to respect the current government. No, a lot of these African nations don't have a favorable viewing of the United States. The US will always find a way to profit off of whatever instability is caused. If there is going to be a disruption in the energy supply, I will bet you that the US will make money selling its liquid natural gas and oil. If there is going to be widespread war, the US is going to make a lot of money selling its weapons. I would not put it past the United States interests to have their cake and eat it too. They may be happy about China building all of this infrastructure because that means the US doesn't have to. It means the US doesn't have to invest in anything to make Africa more prosperous and rich, but they can reap all of the benefits for when that actually happens. In my opinion, I think that every Western interest should be kicked out of every African country and then reintroduced as a potential trading partner among peers with equal standing, instead of these African nations having to deal with the West like guaranteed exploiters.
C'est juste, j'ai vu, mais c'est français. Mais oui, là, c'est gratuit quoi.
Hey France, what happened with you? Bro, our government is a mess and our prime minister got kicked out. That's the third prime minister to leave in less than a year. Wait, why? What's going on? What's the story? You see that guy? He's our former prime minister, François Bayrou. And he was only the prime minister for like 9 months. But today, his government collapsed. And how? So he wanted to get like 43.8 billion euros in the budget. He wanted to cancel 2 public holidays and freeze social benefits. Oh, why? He said that this will make our economy better. But yeah, everyone hated it. But he suddenly got this brilliant idea to have something called a confidence vote, which basically means he asked the people in the government to vote if they still trust him or not. And he actually thought people would vote on his side, and they didn't. Bro, the right and the left of the country actually agreed on one thing: to kick him out. And 364 MPs voted against him, while only 194 people voted with him. So yeah, he got out. And people were so happy that he left that they had signs saying bye to him. Oh, he was not popular. No, not at all. Well, the problem is it's our third prime minister to leave in less than a year. Like, we had Gabriel Attal, who left in September of 2024, and then Michel Barnier, who left in December 2024, and now him, who left today. So yeah, our president is finding a hard time hiring a prime minister. Hey, I would do a good job. Do you know French at least? Not really. You know what? Probably would be better than him still.
Who saw this coming? Nobody. France, the mighty ex-colonial power, is now counting every euro. All because one small West African nation slammed the door on its gold rush. Here's how Burkina Faso made France bleed. Look at France today, July 2025. Its economy is barely crawling forward at 0.7% growth. That's pathetic. Not enough to cover its massive debt, which now sit at over 112% of GDP. Farmers are blocking highways. Workers are striking. Energy costs are choking industries. And the government is desperate to cut spending. But the people won't have it. This is what you get for being greedy. If these guys were honest with Burkina Faso, okay, or their colonies, all this while, maybe by now they'll still be enjoying life. But plundering and taking away everything, see where you landed yourself. A good for you. A good for you. Now, why does this matter? Because the old money tap that kept France comfortable was Africa. And Burkina Faso just shut it off. Yeah. Now, for decades, France's troops guarded mines. Its companies dug up gold, uranium, oil, and billions flowed to Paris, while West Africa stayed poor. But not anymore. That's why I'm happy. Now, under Ibrahim Traore, let me correctly. Under Captain Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso booted out foreign soldiers. Evava Isuzu cancelled shady mining deals and kept its gold at home. Over 11 tons of gold now locked in state reserves instead of French banks. The result? France's easy cash is gone. Troops pulled out. Uranium from Niger, gone. Gold from Burkina Faso, gone. Control of the CFA franca, slipping. Now, France is stuck with strikes, rising debt, and no more colonial cushion to bail it out. We go see what we are going to do. The empire is learning the hard way. You're going to learn. You're going to learn the hard way. Because Africa is keeping its wealth. Europe too is feeling the pinch. So if you want to see what real independence looks like, watch France sweat. And remember, it all started when one so-called poor country said, our gold stays here. Our future is ours. France is bleeding. And Burkina Faso pulled the plug. What do you think about this? Congratulations to Burkina Faso. Congratulations to Africa. And to France.
Guys, look at this. This white South African vlogger, his name is Kurt, and he has a big platform. He went to Italy last time, and he said it looked like Bangladesh. Now he's in Paris. Listen to what he had to say. Look.
Look at this, guys. Where are we right now? Where on earth are we right now? If you had to drop me off here without knowing, I would say we just landed in Accra or Dhaka or somewhere in Ghana. Guys, this is Paris in 2025. They're lying about the numbers. They're lying about the numbers. They are not telling us the truth. They are not disclosing the census. What's going on here? Selling vegetable markets, fruits.
You can hear him in the video. He's comparing the city of Paris to Accra in Ghana. He even mentioned Dakar, Senegal as well. And he's making this comparison because the people he saw in the market, they all had dark skin. And he has a problem with that. What do you guys think about this? Because he's a white South African, so he does not have a problem if the migration happens the other way. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below.
So Ibrahim Traoré effects as France's economy is in dilemma right now. So it's been reported that more than 50,000 jobs lost. So people are filing for bankruptcy. So it's only 3 countries that stop France from robbing their natural resources. Imagine if it was all African countries telling France to stop robbing their natural resources. What will happen to the France economy? So France without Africa, what do you guys think? Let me know.
France is collapsing, and who would ever believe this? Now, a lot of things have been happening on the internet. A lot of things have been happening around the world. Now, this is a case between a David and a Goliath, pure one that we're watching right now on the internet. Okay, what is happening now? People say that Burkina Faso, most of the Sahel states, that's Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Now, they supply all this francophone country uranium. Uranium, as sometimes we say, they do light, electricity. And as I talk about like this now, so for real times, in few days' time, I think there will be no electricity in Paris. There have been a massive protest. Even the Prime Minister, when they come out recently, it does say it's not the come thing go solve the problem, that this problem is from the brim. You know, one thing I'm telling you guys is that Ibrahim Traoré, one way or the other, have tried to tell us that we can be one big nation. Recently, he banned anything in visa entry. Now you can go to Burkina Faso without a visa. Recently, he changed out to their native language. No more speaking of French. Let Burkinabe speak Burkina. How did they talk? You know, this guy has been doing a lot of things that is proving us wrong. Proving our system wrong, I'm even doubting a lot of things happening right now in my government. See, I won't be shocked if they say that these people now write our law give us. Because he's changing it and we're seeing it. Right now, Burkina Faso is developing so rapidly. And it's favoring the citizens. Politicians were so scared. Bad people of this country, or somebody's country was so scared because of what is happening in Naples. Let me tell you something. Nigerians, we not always boil it down to Nigerians. That thing will happen for Naples. It go hard before it happen for Nigerians, because you and I don't have good minds. You and I don't have one mind. You and I don't have the same vision. Only few of us, as I talk now, I believe in only few of me did this out of that 200 million, I believe in only 10 of person like me did this world. Because if you were to be like me watching this now, maybe waiting for happen for Naples for don't happen. But I'm not trying to propagate chaos, but I'm just trying to say for the good, for the betterment of the country. You get, there's always bad egg and we must sweep them off our society. Even the bad eggs, if you not be the bad egg where you see. You understand? The bad egg will be the person where near you. If you not be politicians, the person where they cause your problem. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people causing Nigeria problem are from these contractors, these people, these civil servants, forcemen, even civilians, even marketers, where they sell for market, people where they trade goods and services. They are part of the problem. If you have to eliminate it, meaning if you want to start to eliminate problem for Nigeria, you have to eliminate almost everybody, because even in the movie industry, there is a big corruption.
You call Africa a third world continent, yet you yourself, without the help of Africa, is a third world continent. This is evident in France. Everyone is at protest. Everyone is on the street. They can't believe that France is bankrupt. They can't believe that the government of France is in debt, unpayable debt. France is collapsing, the government is collapsing, everything is collapsing. We are now waiting for the resignation of Macron. Everyone is protesting, people are banning everything. You know, you guys don't understand, but without the help of Africa, most of these first world countries and continents could be third world countries, because they are looting our minerals. The moment Niger kicked Mali, the moment Niger kicked France out, Burkina Faso did the same, Mali did the same. That is when France began the descent. They began to fall. This is because they were using free oil. They were using free gold. No free things now. Africa is not for grabs. You guys, we are coming for you. You illegal miners. Whatever is happening in Congo, Sudan, Somalia, we know what you are doing. But your time is up. Your time is up. You be sure of what I'm saying. We are coming there. We are coming to kick you out. You will no longer be, Africa will no longer embrace parasites like you.
Putain, mesquine. Monsieur, restez dehors. Respirez, restez dehors. Voilà. Oh putain, mesquine, j'espère qu'ils vont arriver là tout de suite. Messieurs, les gars! Les gars! Messieurs, les gars! Oh!
دخان ولا لا بس واش كيبان لكم راهم الفوق يطفي هذا.
Paris is burning tonight. The so-called Block Everything movement has spilled into the streets, and they mean it literally. Bins are on fire, buildings are torched, police are battling rioters, and traffic across the capital is paralysed. This isn't polite protest. This is France doing what France does best when it's had enough: shutting the country down and lighting a match. And what sparked this chaos? Macron's government again. Another prime minister shuffled in. Austerity cuts biting into schools, hospitals and public services, and a population that feels ignored and ripped off. People aren't just angry anymore, they're done, and tonight they're showing it. Roads blocked, train stations targeted, police flooding Paris in their thousands, but still the fires spread. This is what happens when the elite keep rearranging the deck chairs while the ship sinks. Ordinary people flip the table. France has always had a flair for revolution, but what's happening right now is a warning shot. This isn't a protest, it's a wake-up call. And looking at Paris tonight, the only safe bet is that it's going to get worse, much worse, before it gets better. Vive la France!
France is literally burning right now. They said this is the worst wildfire they've seen in over 70 years. 70 years is a long time. This fire near the Spanish border has already burnt over 17,000 hectares. That's bigger than the whole city of Paris. It's already being confirmed that a couple people lost their life because of this, y'all. And they said over 50 homes has been burned. Entire towns is burning right now as we speak. They got 2,100 military and firefighters trying to combat this junk. But with the winds and the dry heat, nothing is stopping it. That's a mixture for bad compulsion. They say that shit is just moving too damn fast. Y'all gotta understand that this is just not a France problem. As you're seeing it right now, Colorado is burning. You seen LA burning. The whole world is burning. If it's not flooding, it's burning. They're calling this the worst fire since 1949. And the scariest part is, this joint is nowhere near contained. Look at this shit. They burning everywhere. This shit is wild. It look like hell on earth. I need y'all to tag somebody that don't know what's going on around the world because I get these news updates. And also, like this video and share this video. Drop a A in the comments if you think this is controlled. Drop a B in the comments if you think this is climate change. I know some people be looking at this like, well, I'm good where I'm at. If you think this can't happen where you at, you tripping. This not just gonna happen in France, it's gonna happen everywhere. France is burning like this. What happens if this fire just start burning everywhere else? What you gonna do?
Suryavanshi.
Regardez sur ces images, vous voyez deux polices qui sont en train de très rapidement prendre un extincteur et tenter d'éteindre cet incendie puisque les pompiers ne sont pas encore arrivés. Les manifestants de leur côté ont reculé d'une vingtaine de mètres pour laisser la police faire son travail. Au moment où on se parle,
ça va, Emma? Regarde, regarde.
Alors attendez.
Déjà gazé, il est 8 heures. Ah oui,
démissionner.
migration is just reverse colonization. France goes to countries 100 years ago, loots all of their resources, leaves, then the Africans are like, what are we going to sell in order to make money to progress? They don't have it because France took it, so they go to France. And then France says, what are you doing here? You colonized them, you left them nothing.
Oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. Oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. This is just unbelievable. Guess what? France's economy is in ICU, intensive care units. It's declining. No, this is not the word they use for it. It's decelerating. It's going backward. They have tried everything possible to bring it back, to roll it back. All kinds of suits have been worn. All kinds of meetings have been held, but the economy is not coming back. France's economy is going backward on a daily basis, to the point that it's said that they lose, I think, about $1 trillion every single day or every single week or thereabout. Go and do your research. Every single hour, they are losing thousands and thousands of dollars. So France is going backward despite everything that the guy Macron is trying to do. It's not working. Nothing is working. Nothing is working. Trade is not working. Businesses are not working. Policies are not working. Nothing is working. France is just like a child that needs intensive care right now. Everything is breaking down and it's not coming together soon. Though it said that maybe in 2026 something is going to happen that will help them to balance a little bit. But for now, France is on a decline. Everything is falling apart. That's why I sent a message to Macron. I don't know if he listened or it was translated, interpreted to him. That when people that have been oppressed for a long time, when they kind of wake up and they say, this is what we want to do, you have to think twice before you do any contrary thing to fight them, trying to do some. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. But the latest is that the French economy is not working. It's on a decline side. And the Sahel region, maybe they need to do a meeting to come to their aid. Maybe he will need a counsel from Captain Traoré or Simi Goïta or my friend from Senegal and all of that. Niger. Africa can come to his aid at the point, but at the moment, they didn't listen to what I was saying earlier. So the economy is going bad. So we'll think about some other stuff. What do you think about this? What do you think about this news? Hit the like button if you know that Africa is moving forward. Our economy is waxing stronger. Everything is moving forward. We are accelerating. We are putting things together. And for those who have vowed to destroy Africa, your time is off. It's over with you. We come in with full force. Africa must advance. Africa must go to the next dimension. And we're not leaving no stone unturned. It is time for Africa, and there is nothing anybody can do about it. If you believe in Africa, leave me a positive comment here and hit that plus button. Let's get this page up a little bit. Remember, I promise of coming live, and I've not forgotten about it. I'm just pushing by the spirit to observe what is going on. Let's go to the next level, Africa.
Waka, I usually don't like covering politics, but the fall of France is so bizarre. Okay, it's like it's falling in slow motion. Like it is falling. 14 African countries have kicked it out. And the revolution, of course, started with Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And now the government, I think last night, has collapsed again. The second time in a year. This is the second time it has collapsed in a year. Meaning they can't agree on stuff, basically. So they're busy kicking people out and firing people, and there's no ministers and all that stuff. When it's slow motion. Why is that slow motion? The minute Congo ere no more. o tlo thunya mushi. Tjo!
Oh my goodness. France is in a mess. It's going down. Economy is going down. Everything is not working out fine for France. France lost over 4 billion France and US dollars to Niger. This is serious. All right, welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. France is furious. Niger and France uranium dispute. Who truly owns Africans' resources? The president of Niger, Tiachani, ends 50 years of uranium theft in Niger. That is a big one. 50 years of exploitation, of theft, of unfair deal ended in Niger. Troops sent back, equipment, you know what happens? So France is furious. Not only is France losing in Burkina Faso, in Niger is a big one. Remember, Burkina Faso, France used to give them about 1 billion for their gold and all of that. But within the time space that President Traoré come into power, they have made multiple of billions of dollars, about 18 billions of dollars, right? But today, I want us to focus on Niger. Africa and Africans, we don't know our power. Most people that grow up in Africa don't actually know the potential and the capability of Africa as a continent. For 50 years, France has this company called Orano. It's a nuclear power company exploiting Niger. If you go to Niger, the people are poor. It's one of the poorest countries on the planet Earth. But Niger is among the top uranium producers globally. You can't believe this. Many people in the country may not even have a clear understanding, and that is why we need a unified vision. And we need to teach Africans, sons and daughters, Africa. We need to teach our sons and daughters Africa. That means we need to know our resources. We need to know our power. We need to know what is on ground. And that is why human capital investment is my focus. We need to invest more in human development. France Orano, formerly Areva, has operated in Niger for over 50 years. How many Nigerians know about this operation? Imoranin mine, one of the world's largest uranium deposits, is in Niger. Operations delayed due to low uranium process post Fukushima in 2011. Don't know if I pronounced that right. But recent development, there is a license revocation and then legal action taken by the France company. Can you imagine that? You came to somebody's country, they stop you, that we don't want this deal anymore. We don't want you to keep exploiting us anymore. You take illegal action. It's amazing how this guy sees Africans. And it's because we've not been able to raise ourselves and build quality leadership. The value that we hold and how we take ourselves and carry ourselves before the world is what is causing all these people to do whatever they are doing to Africans. In June 2024, Niger revoked Orano's license for Imourian projects. And that is the uranium site.
in December 2024, Niger seized and halted their exports. Do you believe that France exports about 3.5 billion and like 4 billion USD from Niger every single year, but turn around to pay Niger about 400 million? See an embarrassment. Why France is succeeding and the people are living in affluence and luxury, Niger people are going through poverty, untold poverty. Why France is enjoying abundance, Niger is enjoying poverty and penury and pain, and they call Africa poor. How poor are we that a region, a section of Africa is generating over 3.4 billion for France? And that is just on one side. And then you turn around to give on what we call the royalty of 3%. The same thing is being exported from Canada at 18 to 20%. So what's actually the difference between the Canadian uranium and African uranium? It is the value they see in the people. And when Niger says we have to increase this to at least close to 10 to 12%, they say no, it has to be 3%. All African country, everything exported from Africa is between 2 to 3%. Very unfair deal. It is time for Africa to wake up. We are not poor as narrated by the West. Africans, and Africa is not a poor continent. The sons and daughters of Africa, it is time for every single one of us to understand that Africa is not a poor continent, but is a continent that is being exploited and drained by the West. Orano filed a lawsuit against Niger for property confiscations and detaining of personnel. Can you imagine how much what? So Niger only called for fair agreements, but France refuses because they don't want Africans to live in a soft life. We need to end all this right now. We need to end it. The time is now. The time is now. We have to do it. And this reflects the broader perspective of how Africans and Africa is seen in the global scene. If you love Africa, I want you to spread this message. We must end theft and exploitation in Africa. Thank you, the president of Niger. Thank you for that move. That is a great move. That's a great move from Tishani. Captain Tishani is a great move. And congratulations to Nigerians. Thank you for this powerful move. Now, you need to support your leadership, and we need to build strong leadership, raise men and women that will be able to hold things together. Share this news. Make your comment in the comment section as civilized as possible. Make it plain. Express yourself. Let's make Africa the best continent on the planet Earth. No matter where you came from, as long as you're an African, you have the blood flowing through you, it is time to be patriotic in our thinking, in our action, in our relationship, in everything that we do. Think Africa first. Will this benefit Africa? If it doesn't, throw it through the window. It is time to fix our continent. France, goodbye. Goodbye to you.
We don't want anything to do with you anymore. Enough is enough.
Ibe! Vive de Ibe! Vive de Burkina Faso! Vive France ici.
Africa! 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 Unite! Africa! Unite! Africa! Unite! Africa! Unite! Africa! Unite!
Join me as I reveal one of the most explosive stories shaking Europe today. Imagine this: 200,000 angry French citizens flooding the streets, blocking highways, torching buses, chanting for Macron's resignation. Why? Because their government just announced a brutal $50 billion budget cut. But here's the twist the French media won't tell you. The deeper cause of this crisis doesn't lie in Paris. It lies in Africa. More specifically, in the Sahel. France is collapsing because it lost its grip on Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Without Africa, France is bankrupt. Without the Sahel, France is humiliated. Well, Paris, Lyon, Marseille, Toulouse, the streets are on fire. Protesters chant, "Macron must go." A bus torched in Rennes, train cables cut near Toulouse. At Gare du Nord station in Paris, police fired tear gas at thousands of demonstrators blocking entry. 80,000 police officers deployed nationwide, yet still overwhelmed. Nearly 500 people arrested. Over 170,000 people mobilized in more than 800 protests across France. The Block Everything movement, born online, has become a tidal wave of anger sweeping across the country. And the reason? Austerity, cuts, sacrifice demanded of ordinary French people. Prime Minister François Bayrou unveiled a $50 billion cut, slashing pensions, freezing salaries, removing national holidays. The people shouted no. Parliament collapsed in a no-confidence vote. Macron scrambled to appoint yet another prime minister. But the anger only grew. And that's just the beginning. Because here's what France doesn't want to admit. These budget cuts are not simply about mismanagement. They are about the collapse of France's colonial empire in Africa. They are about the loss of Niger's uranium, Mali's gold, Burkina Faso's cotton. They are about the end of French domination in the Sahel. Keep watching, because it gets deeper. For decades, French presidents boasted that without Africa, France would sink to the rank of a third world country. That wasn't just a statement. It was an admission of dependency. Africa's uranium lit French homes. Africa's oil fueled French cars. Africa's resources filled French banks. And yet Africa itself remained poor. That was the Africa versus France economy. Paris shining, Niamey starving. But everything changed when the Sahel rose. In Mali, Colonel Assimi Goïta ended military cooperation with France. In Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré expelled French troops and reclaimed control of supply chains. In Niger, General Abdourahmane Chiani nationalized uranium, expelled Orano, and joined the alliance of Sahel states. These were not isolated acts. They were a coordinated rebellion against centuries of French colonization in Africa, and the results speak for themselves. The World Bank Niger report shocked the world when it projected that Niger will be the fastest growing economy in Africa in 2025, with an incredible 14.4% GDP growth. Agriculture is booming thanks to massive irrigation. Oil production has quadrupled. Uranium is finally under Nigerian control. While France is slashing $50 billion from its budget, Niger is rising. While Macron faces 200,000 protesters in Paris, Chiani commands millions cheering in Niamey. France shamed, Niger triumphant. But there's something the media isn't telling you. France's $50 billion budget hole has a direct link to Africa. With the Sahel cutting off cheap uranium, cheap gold, cheap cotton, France's energy bills are soaring, its industries are weakening, and its debt is spiraling. In 2024, France's deficit hit 5.8% of GDP. Now austerity is the only answer. Yet the people are refusing to pay the price for Macron's colonial failures. This is where Niger sends the world a message. When Africa breaks free, Europe shakes. When the Sahel rises, Paris trembles. Like this video, if you feel what's coming is long overdue, and you won't believe what happens next. Because this is no longer just about the streets of France. It is about a shift in global power. The Sahel rising shows that Africa's fastest growing economies are no accident. They are the fruit of resistance. Resistance to IMF debt traps. Resistance to French colonization. Africa, resistance to puppet leaders. When Niger breaks free from France, France breaks down at home. Comment below, because the next piece needs your voice. If you believe Africa must rise, comment, Africa must rise. If you stand with AES, say it loud, AES forever. Now let us paint the contrast even more vividly. In Paris, pensioners march because their retirement is threatened. In Niamey, families celebrate cheaper rice, regulated rents, and free maternal health care introduced by the military government. In Lyon, students clash with police over tuition hikes. In Ouagadougou, young people cheer as Traoré opens new state-owned enterprises. In Marseille, unions strike against frozen wages. In Bamako, Goïta signs new defense pacts with Russia and Turkey. Two worlds, one falling, one rising. Which side of history do you stand on? And that's not all. The Sahel's victory is contagious. Senegal, under Bassirou Diomaye Faye, is following the same anti-imperialist path. Its economy is projected to grow 12.1% in 2025. Ghana debates taking back control of its gold exports. Across Africa, the message is spreading. If Niger can do it, why not us? If Mali can do it, why not us? If Burkina Faso can stand tall, then surely Africa as a whole can rise. But the question is, will France learn, or will it double down on?
We can no longer continue to make policy for ourselves, in our country, in our region, in our continent, on the basis of whatever support the Western world or France or the European Union can give us. It will not work. It has not worked, and it will not work. Our responsibility is to charter a path which is about how we can develop our nations ourselves. It is not right for a country like Ghana, 60 years after independence, to still have its health and education budgets being financed on the basis of the generosity and charity of European taxpayers. By now, we should be able to finance our basic needs ourselves. And if we are going to look at the next 60 years as a period of transition, a period whereby we can stand on our own feet, our perspective has not to be what the French taxpayer decides to do with whatever set.
France is broke, and they're expecting their people to work more in order to pay for it. France is drowning in debt, now at a staggering 3.3 trillion euros, with annual interest payments of 60 billion euros. And their solution? Well, the Prime Minister just announced a new austerity plan to bring the deficit down from 5.8 to 3% of GDP by 2029. And the flagship move to do this? Cancelling public holidays, namely Easter Monday and Victory Day in Europe. Clearly not important, and this should generate roughly 4.2 to 4.5 billion in extra revenue by making people work more. On top of that, they're freezing pensions, cutting healthcare by 5 billion euros, and slashing public sector pay and jobs. Because, you know, taking away holidays, taking away pay, and cutting access to critical services is always a good way to keep French people from rioting. And yes, the backlash has already been intense. Unions say this is a real provocation against workers, and both the left and the right are threatening no confidence votes. And half the countries think this is an assault on French culture identity and hard-earned rest, while the bureaucrats in palaces, like those at the Economic, Social and Environmental Council, enjoy $121,000 salaries, 54 days off, lavish perks, while taxpayers foot the bill, roughly 45 million euros per year. So apparently France isn't suffering from a revenue shortage, it's suffering from bureaucratic bloat and a budget built more on perks than on productivity. But what do you think? Is France overdue a reality check, or is this a step too far? French people, I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Americans, if the CIA tries to coup this man, we need to riot, metaphorically, legally, in self-defense for democracy. Within 2 years of kicking the French out, Ibrahim Traore's government has built tons of social housing for the people of Burkina Faso, something that France didn't do in 64 years of colonization. Their target was to build 50,000 houses, which will essentially be free for their people to live in, and according to Traore, they're actually almost done with this project. They've also nationalized all the resources that were being extracted by Western corporations, and now they're reinvesting them in things like this. And the American media portrays Africa as if it's just a bunch of impoverished people living in huts. But they don't explain why there's a lack of development in Africa. It's because all the resources there are being siphoned out by Western multinational corporations and banks who are also debt trapping them. But if African leaders were to cancel the debts, seize control of the resources, and reinvest them in development, you can get amazing stuff like this. And that's why the CIA and the US are always trying to coup people like this. And that's why we can't let it happen. Americans, stand up for Burkina Faso.
The solution is not to take Africans and move them to Europe. The solution is to free Africa from certain Europeans who exploit it and allow these people to live off what they have. This is called the CFA franc, a colonial currency that France prints for 14 African nations, and by virtue of which it exploits the resources of this nation. This is a child working in a gold mine in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is one of the poorest nations in the world. For Burkina Faso, which has gold, France prints colonial currency. In return, it demands that 50% of everything Burkina Faso exports ends up in the coffers of the French treasury. The gold that this child crawls into a tunnel to extract mostly ends up in the coffers of the French state.
The collapse of France is now happening, and it is happening in full scale. So after the Prime Minister of France was voted a vote of no confidence, you won't believe that today, being the 10th of September, there is a lot of protest in France, all over France, and now their government is going down. This is the same thing that is happening in Nepal, when the government does not do what it is required. But the Prime Minister of France, before he was ousted, he said, even after removing him, the problems will still persist. And the truth is now coming out that France was not using its resources to develop its country. It was using African resources from the Sahel states. A lot of uranium was coming from Niger, which was being used to power the whole of Paris. All the lights in Paris were coming from Niger because of the uranium in Niger, and now they have been kicked out of Africa and everything is crumbling. According to reports, Paris has a very few days before it goes off. All their electricity goes off because they no longer have the free uranium, and so many other things are going to collapse very, very soon.
Did you know that France dropped multiple nuclear bombs on Algeria between 1960 and 1966? Did you know at least one of those nuclear bombs was 4 times stronger than the bomb that the US dropped on Hiroshima? Did you also know that to this date, France hasn't apologized or cleaned up the nuclear fallout? And that people to this day, Algerian people to this day, are still facing consequences from France's nuclear bomb dropping? 17 nuclear tests on Algeria by France between 1960 and 1966. And France to this day has still not paid reparations or cleaned up the destruction that they caused on Algerian land.
France did not see what is happening in West Africa coming. So they find themselves at a time when they are very weak economically, when at home the population of immigrants is growing bigger and bigger. You go to cities such as Marseille, you find Algerians, you find Moroccans, you find Senegalese, you find Guineans, you find Burkinabe, and things are not happening as they used to be then.
The
them to go get a job at McDonald's. Or better yet, doing some Boy Scout cookies. You feel me? France, French, fries, toast. They are now number 30 in military strength. They was number 7. But ever since Africa, they pulled out and refused to help them and assist them on anything. Yeah, y'all were talking shit. Like, you know, and brother, you should be ashamed of yourself. We all see this. Y'all remember his face now. They might try to use him as a distraction. Because that's what they do. When they ain't got nothing else left to do, they go in their little goodie bag and try to pull up magician acts. But no more abracadabras, no more parlez-vous français, mille more we see, oui bonbons, and none of that stuff. It's all down the hole from here. Thank you, my people from Africa. We love you. Ha.
The solution is not to move Africans to Europe, but to free Africa from certain Europeans. France continues to exploit Africa by printing currency for 14 African nations, making children work in mines, extracting raw materials, as happens in Niger, where France extracts 30% of the uranium it needs to run its nuclear power plants, while 90% of Nigerians live without electricity. Don't come here to lecture us, Macron, because Africa is fleeing from you.
France occupied Burkina Faso for generations. They stole gold and uranium, billions of dollars of resources for pennies on the dollar, while the people of Burkina Faso suffered. But Burkina Faso's new revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, says no more. Traoré has kicked out all of the French troops from his country in Africa. He has banned exports of gold to Paris, and he has dropped French as the official language of Burkina Faso. It's a total cultural, political, and economic reset. Now, obviously, French President Emmanuel Macron is kind of upset with all of this. He has made his position known. And President Traoré beautifully responded. He said, if anyone is ungrateful, it is him, Emmanuel Macron. France exists today thanks to our ancestors. They should pray for us. And Burkina Faso is making it clear that this is not about some attack on France. This is about independence and sovereignty. Just last week, Burkina Faso's President Traoré decided to release 4 French spies who were guilty of attempting to commit a coup against the president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, in 2022. The message is clear. Burkina Faso is not the pawn of France or the Dutch or the United States anymore, but forgiveness is also at the heart of their revolution. Traoré says that this is not just a split, it is a revolution with global ripples. I couldn't have said it better myself.
He also insulted all Africans.
I think they forgot to say thank you to us. It's not a big deal. It will come with time.
There is a part that caught my attention where he talked about ingratitude.
Gratitude, I am well aware, is a non-transmissible disease to humans.
He is human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman sees Africa, sees Africans. We are not human in his eyes. I think that if he is not an atheist and he prays, every morning when he wakes up and prays, he should also pray to the Africans. Because it is thanks to our ancestors that there is a France today. He should pray to us.
The prayer that many African nations have been waiting for has finally been answered. You see, France is collapsing. For many decades, France has been printing currencies for almost 45 African nations. And these African leaders, because they're naive and ignorant, they let that happen. You see, a little tiny nation like this, a little tiny piece of land controls almost half of the continent. And these African leaders, they let that happen. And now France is collapsing. See, France cannot survive without Africa. France is not capable of surviving on its own. It is because African leaders were letting this happen. They let the exploitation continue. That is why France was actually surviving. And now that France is being pushed out of Africa, many African countries does not want the presence of France anymore in the continent. France's economy is collapsing, and it's only gonna get worse. I mean, I don't know if you've seen France. You go to Paris, man. Paris looks like a ghetto. I mean, there's videos of France just look like trash. It's no longer the France that people used to praise, and it's no longer the France that used to be attractive. And no, this is why African nations need to come together. You see, France was extracting nearly $1 trillion every year from Africa's resources. $1 trillion every year, okay? And now that it's being pushed out, it's no longer getting that much money. So its economy is collapsing. Now you can see that it was only depending on Africa's resources for it to survive. How can you let a little tiny nation like that control that many countries? This is ignorance at its best. Africa must control its own economy. So apparently France is running out of money. France is broke. All those billions of dollars they were getting from the Sahel region, the money is no longer coming. Many African countries are pushing France out. So now we know.
Is it true most of France's financial wealth right now is still built on
$500 billion a year
Wow.
from Africa?
from Africa.
Wow.
500. That's a lot
And
of
is
money.
it true that the deals are such that an African nation that has this deal with France cannot do business around the world with their natural resources without the first right of refusal with
First
France?
right of refusal is in
And they can
France's
still
hand.
tell them no.
They can still tell them no.
So if they've dug gold, coffee, cocoa,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
they go to France like, hey, you guys want this? And they say, nah. And they say, okay, we're going to sell it over here. France can still say, nah, you can't do that.
Yep.
So insane.
And all those nations still run on the French franc, which is also hilarious because even France has
Goes
the
on the
euro.
euro.
Exactly.
So wait, they buy money from France with their own natural
So, yeah,
resources.
and if they don't
that's not
comply-
even worth anything in France.
Yep. And if they don't comply, the faucet's turned off immediately.
I want you to pay attention to this message from France president.
Dear distinguished delegates, I stand before you today, April 30th, 2023, as the President of the French Republic, to express my deepest apologies to the African nations and peoples who were affected by France's colonial past. We recognize the harm and damage caused by our actions, and we are committed to making amends for the wrongs committed during that period. To the people of Algeria, I apologize for the harm caused by our colonization. We acknowledge the historical injustices committed during that period, as well as the pain and trauma that we continue to cause. We pledge to work towards healing and reconciliation with the Algerian people, and to foster a new relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. To the people of Benin, we deeply regret the harm caused by France's abhorrent actions. We acknowledge the exploitation of your resources and culture and the deep scars left by colonialism. We apologize for the damage done and commit to working towards a new relationship with the people of Benin based on absolute respect. To the people of Burkina Faso, we apologize for the harm caused by France's repugnant colonization. We acknowledge the exploitation of your resources and culture and the deep scars left behind by our evil deeds. We pledge to work towards atonement because words alone is not enough.
Atonement.
To the people of Cameroon, we express our deepest apologies for the generational harm caused by France's atrocious actions. We acknowledge the exploitation of your resources and culture and the cruelty you experienced through colonialism. We seek forgiveness not only in words, but also through the actions we take in the future. To the people of Central African Republic, we express our deepest apologies for the lack of human rights resulting from France's sickening participation. We acknowledge the exploitation of your resources and culture and the unforgivable treatment you endured through colonialism. We apologize for the damage done and commit to working towards a new relationship with the people of Central African Republic based on cooperation.
First, France said, you see, you monkeys, you don't know how to manage your money. We're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Minister of Finance. Under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. France is then going to take your 85% bank deposits from each and every one of you. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under bear the French name. And you may or may not know the returns. Today, as we speak, the latest figures are saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out. For every 14 billion, the returns on the investment are over 300 billion, and they are taking over 500 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out from us poor people, Africans. Back to the pact. So should you want to access some of your money that you have deposited with France, you have to submit your country's financial returns. And if approved, you get to get it as a loan. You can only access up to 20% of your money year in, year out as a loan at commercial interest rates. Your own money.
France just tried to shut the country down, and things are getting intense. Right now, the streets of Paris and cities across France are witnessing something extraordinary. Imagine waking up to find your entire country grinding to a halt. That's exactly what's happening in France right now, where protesters have launched what they're calling the Block Everything movement. And they mean everything. Roads, railways, city centers, you name it, they're blocking it. This isn't just your average protest. We're talking about coordinated actions across the entire country, with thousands of people taking to the streets, determined to make their voices heard. The scenes are pretty dramatic. Farmers with tractors blocking highways, workers forming human chains, and entire neighborhoods coming to a standstill. So what's got the French so fired up? Well, it's all about government reforms that people say are pushing them to the breaking point. And let me tell you, the pressure on Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu is getting real. The government's response? Sending in massive numbers of police officers to maintain order. But that's only adding fuel to the fire. The really interesting part? The protesters aren't backing down. In fact, they're saying this is just the beginning. One protest leader told reporters, if the government thinks we'll get tired and go home, they're in for a surprise. They're already planning more shutdowns, bigger demonstrations, and even longer disruptions. The situation has created this intense standoff between the government and its people. Streets that usually buzz with life are now stages for this dramatic showdown. And here's the thing, nobody knows exactly how this will end. Will the government cave to the pressure? Will the protesters lose steam? Or are we watching the beginning of something even bigger? One thing's for sure, France is holding its breath and the world is watching. This isn't just about blocking roads anymore. It's about a country at a crossroads with both sides refusing to back down.
So now that Africa, 14 countries in Africa has cut France totally off. They told France that they will not be sending them no 85% of their income. They will not be doing it. They've been doing that shit since 1959 and they will no longer be doing it. France thought that Africa was playing. And no, they weren't. Because now France, their economy is tanking big time. They are in such a deficit. Their country is just falling. It's burning right now. It hasn't even been 3 months, and they can't pay their bills. Those 14 countries in Africa is putting France fucking out of business. And that's only 14 countries. You know, Africa has 52 or 53. What is France going to do? And Africa don't even want to make no deals. They don't even want to work with them. They don't want to do shit. They're done. They're finished. It's over with. We don't want to talk to y'all no more. Them 14 countries are trying to get the other countries to just start pulling back too. So France is falling. France is falling, y'all.